Dude.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Michael with One-Eyed Fat Man Studios, and we're coming to you today with a video about my current piece that I'm working on. So I'm going to kind of show you what it is. If you follow me on Facebook, you probably already know, but I wanted to give you some idea on how I was doing different things on this particular piece. So, give me just a minute and I'll spin it around for the camera to see. And we'll go from there. So, it's no secret that I have quite a few favorite pieces that I like to do. Godzilla, King Kong, different horror movies, The Thing, stuff like that. So this piece should be as no surprise whatsoever. I did one of these 3 or 4 years ago, and I wanted to revisit it to see, you know, what my level of skill had become over the last couple of years. So we have the Blair Monster from John Carpenter's The Thing. Now, this is the one I did from a couple of years ago. Of course, it's much smaller. And of course, I tried to paint it. So here we have the original one. And we have its current counterpart. So, yay! Much bigger. Much more detailed. I've been able to find some more photos of the actual special effect itself, which has been very helpful. It was also very helpful with the kennel monster that I did. So what I did with this is I took 2 pieces of steel armature wire, and I made this U shape here for these 2 very large tentacles. And I kind of bent them to give them shape. Now, these were finished, but for some reason the clay was not adhering correctly, so I pulled them off. I'm going to put them back on. But during that time, I decided I was going to go ahead and try to do some of the detail work on the actual torso. I finished the arm, and we're getting the work done on the side here and all the different pieces that are here on the upper torso, the side of the body, which has the alien creature, you know, part of its true self showing through, while still trying to maintain the whole Wilford Brimley, you know, Quaker Oats guy look. Now, one of the things that was interesting with this clay is when I started it with, I had 3 different. This is the last shipment, the previous shipment of gray clay I had from Monster Makers. This is the current shipment of clay I have from Monster Makers, and this color right here is yet even a different color gray from Monster Makers. The newest one is almost a purplish color. So even though I went over this with all of the previous clay I had, I took apart a Biolante I was doing and tore it apart to make this, and a lot of the center of it is a different color clay, which is this right here. And we were out of clay, waiting on the new clay to come in, and unfortunately it wound up being this purplish gray, but it's growing on me. So one of the things that was difficult in this piece was getting this form and getting this thing to stay. And what I did is I took the steel wire and then added aluminum wire for the upper body, and then wrapped it with cut up disposable aluminum cookie pans for some bulking it out. And then I wrapped tape around it and then ran floral wire around that, and then put screws in the base on either side of the steel armature wire and wrap that floral wire around it, which made it more stable, I thought. And then what happened was it shifted several times, so I had to put these shims, I guess is what you would call them, under the tentacles and balance it. It's on a turntable right now, so I can spin it and work on it. I redid these, what, 3 times before I got them positioned right. I redid the head the first day 4 times. And then I sculpted it again, put it on, was too small, it was too big. And then the last time I put it on, I liked the proportions, but for some reason, I gave him a flat face. And if you look on my Facebook page, you can, the One Eye Fat Man Studios Facebook page, you can see the kind of flat face. And then I came in, and then I bulked it up, and I found a really nice photo of Wilford Brimley from the side from that time period, and another large sculpture, I think that was at Monster Palooza someone did, and it really gave me the details of a profile of Wilford Brimley, so I was able to come in, do the hair, put the weight, because he wasn't really heavy in that movie, but he was still overweight, so I was able to do some of that. Now, part of the thing is in the movie, if you know, that we have the dog come out of the belly. And I'm not for sure I'm going to do that yet. Mainly because I've done all this work on this thing and on the thing, and I'm not for sure I want to cut into it and do it. So I'm not convinced I'm going to go there with it. But I think we never really get to see the back of the Blair Monster, and just about every figure or statue I've ever seen is kind of like somebody just creating their own back for it. And one of the things I didn't realize, because it's so dark, is you have this very bulbous, multi-lumped protrusion in between the 2 arms, and I actually found a really good picture of that where somebody had messed with the contrast, I believe, on their video system and was able to see some of it. But there still is very little detail for the back. So what I chose to do is take some pieces of Kato poly clay from leftover ribs from the King of the or the Godzilla, Zombie Godzilla, cut it up and kind of give a backbone design. And I'm going to do a little bit of stuff here on the back, maybe kind of extrapolate from what we're seeing in the front and some of the other creatures from the film, maybe along the back. I may put a pelvic bone, maybe protruding here, maybe some other bones, maybe have some, because I've got all these pieces from different I've got real bone that I use for texture, aluminum foil balls. I've got all sorts of stuff I've done for other projects that I finished. They've either been molded or I tore them apart because they weren't paid for, and so I have a lot of those that are baked that I can use. So I finished the hand yesterday. I came back in and did the knuckles and the fingernails today, and tomorrow I will probably get these tentacles back on. And then hopefully tomorrow I'll start the complete smoothing process, and this guy will be pretty close to being done. I can't get a hold of my painter, so I don't know if he'll get painted or not. I honestly can't tell you that that's going to happen. But I think it looks really good. And one of the things that I used to do this texturing here is what I did is I rolled out different widths of snakes of clay. And put on here, you know, big, small, big, small, big, small, all the way up to here, both sides. And then I took one of my small tools, where have I put it? I'd lose my head if it wasn't attached, wouldn't it, dear? Hello. There it is, right there. So what I did is I took this, and to get these is I just basically pulled it across and kind of moved it, you know, all the way around it, you know, and did that multiple times and to multiple depths on the actual piece. And then when I was done doing that, what I would do is I would take a toothbrush and kind of run over it and give it some more detail, taking away some of those very sharp inorganic edges. And then today what I did is I went over these 2 large tentacles with mineral spirits. So there it is, just showing you basically, and then using the toothbrush, and then I went over it with mineral spirits. Now, one of the things you can do much easier is just, you know, put it all on there, one big piece, and then just sculpt out what you don't want. I've done that before. This seemed to go a lot smoother. It took me a day to do all this, add the arm, redo the head, work on this, and get this arm finished. So, and in a day, I say 6 hours, wouldn't you say conservatively, hon? And once again, you have the aluminum foil balls. Then I went over the back and just kind of rolled that over it, you know, to give some kind of warped texture on the back. I had some pieces that I had put on here extra. I wasn't happy with it. I took it off and decided, okay, well then I'll try the bone. So I did the same thing, and I came in here with the bone and just pushed in and, you know, stuff like that. And then you get different, you use that in and get you some really nice, you know, details that just happen real quick. Move it around. And it's okay. Then I'll come back in and take the toothbrush and go over them, which that clay is still pretty soft, so it's going to pull it and move it around some as well. Okay, and so then you come in there and you've got some of these real nice holes that you can put an eyeball in, maybe have a bone, you know, protruding out and going into another place, because once again, we don't see that back. So I'm not for sure what I'm going to do there. But I've pulled up a picture of the stop-motion puppet that I think Stan Winston Studios did, or one of the studios came in, because I know they did the Kennel Monster. And I think they were also helping Rob Bottin with pickup shots, and that was pulled from the film because at the end of the day, I think they said that John Carpenter felt that he could tell that you could tell it was stop motion. So at that point, it was probably actually go motion because of the time period when it came out. Because go motion, I think, was first introduced with the Tauntauns in Empire Strikes Back, or it was either, no, it was Dragon Slayer, and then it was the Tauntauns, I believe. I think they introduced that motion blur effect through Phil Tippett and at that time. And I could be mixing up my dates. And so what I'm doing now is I'm taking this clay and I'm working on this, the deformities on the upper torso, and just adding little balls of clay and just sort of flattening them and trying to get this kind of modeled, not necessarily an overly grotesque deformity, but maybe something just under the skin. Because if you look at it here on this puppet, it's very, very subtle. So that's what I'm trying for right here by adding and taking away and smoothing in. And of course, I'll go over this with the toothbrush again, and I'll go over it with mineral spirits with a brush, and hopefully be able to match some of that. So now, granted, this one's probably going to have more on it than the original one, because I just think that it looks cooler, and it also takes up a lot of that area over there where the other pectoral muscle is. So I'm just kind of smoothing that in there. If you want to move around over here, hon, so you can see it, you can. Just got to be careful with that sun getting in your eye. So I'll wait till she gets over here before I continue to talk. So we just basically put that on and smooth it a little bit. So, okay, so we're going to come up here and we're going to look at that picture, and we're going to add some more clay right through here. Okay. And that's going to take part of that, because if you looked at that before I put it on it, you had a bit of an indentation there and up here. So we put this in, and it takes away some of it, but we want to retain some of that particular hole to give it that very organic, under the skin, alien metamorphosis. I don't even know what the word is I'm looking for. It's just going to give it the look I'm looking for. And then just kind of take my finger and push down on it and let the heat from my thumb just kind of go to work on the clay. And then here, smooth that right into that particular muscle. So, and then pull this up and up. And here it begins to get more awkward looking, because there's a lot of deformity taking place up here where the creature is coming out more. Now you see down in here, there's a lot of it. And you can even see some of what I was telling you about on this photo. Pull it down, you can see this bulbous piece right here, which is this here. And now, of course, the mouth looked a lot different than the actual full scale. So I went with the actual full scale. And then I have some different photos. This is the one I found. I think, is it Dee Neal that was on Face Off?
I don't know.
She was on Face Off. I believe she helped actually make this one for one of the Monster Paloozas. And the teeth are too straight and too shiny. So I was like, okay, I really want to go with that original look. So I was able to go back through. Now these are all photos of the thing in some capacity or another, and it's a black and white photo I was able to find on the Stan Winston School of Character Arts page. Give me just a minute. It's right here. This is the actual sculpture done for the film. If you look back here, you can see Palmer's head back here, but this was actually done for that. And what I did is I had all of this stuff here coming out of this eye socket, which is kind of what it's, but they had these real thin teeth back here. And even though after I baked them, they didn't retain the complete shape, what I found was this upper jaw was giving me trouble, and it was continuing to sink down, so I just went ahead and let it be more closed. But we still went with that kind of tendrilled look coming out of that, like it all burst out of the eye socket and then took over the side of the face. So that's kind of what you see there. But that photo, and of course we've got more of the Kennel Monster being made. There are a lot more photos of the Kennel Monster and concept artwork of the Blair Monster. I've pulled up pictures of the original McFarlane toy. They're nowhere even close to what the original Blair Monster looked like. There was a lot of creative licensing that took place. This is some artwork from Tumblr I pulled up. Very basic. This didn't happen, but you know, it's just really hard to find photos of this particular piece. And so, at the end of the day, this is something someone's done for the back of the head there and here. So, it gives me an idea This is from that large piece I showed you earlier, and that's the side of the head. That's what I used to work on the side of Blair. So that helped me with the hair and everything. And then this is a actual shot of the puppet from the stop motion scene, which there's a little bit of it in the film, but I've still got to add all these little pieces hanging off. And this actually looks more like a caterpillar in this, because you see all these little leg or feet things sticking off here. And honestly, this right here, that's very badly placed anatomically for it. So I'm going to move it down to here because it's actually sticking out here. And I don't want it on there. So I'm going to move that in the sculpture. But this kind of gives a look of the caterpillars from Men in the Moon, the stop motion that Ray Harryhausen did. It's kind of what it looks like to me, only they don't have the little feet. It's just the stubs of where the little legs would come out. So, I don't know. I wish I could find a lot more behind-the-scenes photos of the Blair Monster, Palmer, the Norris Monster, even Bennings. You know, the hands on Bennings remind me of the back legs of a deformed toad's foot. But those are all supposed to be fingers, but I've not been able to find a single behind-the-scenes photo of that. It's just clips from the movie. So this one will be done, and then I'm not really for sure what I'm going to do next. I am going to be doing Samson at some point, knocking the pillars down. That's a piece that I want to do. And then I'll probably maybe visit the Norris Monster again. So these big pieces, I do have a couple of commissions that I have not received the down payment, so until I receive those, I'm kind of doing my own thing. But it's been an interesting process, because looking for photos from this movie, you know, this is actually all fleshy, and I decided to use a piece of brown cosplay here. I just thought it looked, it kind of mixed things up a bit, I guess is the word I'm looking for. So there's a lot that I'm doing here that may not be 100% accurate as far as the movie is concerned, but I feel it does great service to what I'm doing, because it makes it more my own while paying respect to Stan Winston, Rob Bottin. I love the film The Thing. I mean, I don't know if did we do a video on the Kennel Monster? So, you know, this took 2 weeks from armature to paint, and I painted it. So, the Kennel Monster. And once again, there are very few photos of the back side of this thing, and the few that I found, you know, really left a lot to be desired, because they were very small photos, and once you enlarge them, you lose a lot of that detail. And we did, you know, the back side and some of the nasty there, and then of course I painted it and covered it with a gel medium to give it that slimy look. I'm really proud of this piece. 2 weeks, exactly. 14 days. Actually, not 14 days, because I'm closed down here. So, what, 12 days? 10 days. 10 days. So, it was 10 days that it took. But it was from a Saturday to a Saturday, so, you know, 2 Saturdays. But, I love this movie. I would love to meet Rob Bottin. I'm never going to get a chance to meet Stan Winston, unfortunately, this side of heaven. But I'd love to meet these guys and just, you know, say, hey, thank you for giving me a good childhood. Thank you for giving me ideas. They say that, what is it? Imitation is the highest form of flattery. Is that how that phrase goes? So there's been a lot of flattering of Rob Bottin and Tom Savini and Ray Harryhausen and Willis O'Brien, Stan Winston, Dick Miller, Jack Pierce, Some of the best special effects artists out there, Rick Baker. I think I said Tom Savini, Phil Tippett. Some amazing work. I mean, in my Vermithrax that I did from Dragon Slayer, another movie I love. The movie may not be the greatest movie in the world, but it does have the best dragon ever put on film. It's better than anything Game of Thrones. It's better than Dragonheart. It's better than any dragon in any movie ever, and it still, to my opinion, holds up to this day as one of the most beautiful creations that Phil Tippett ever created. And I think it's amazing. And if I had my way and I had the space, I'd do a full 8-foot wingspan sculpture of that dragon and hang it from a ceiling somewhere. Because my goal at some point is to do a life-size Norris monster. I want a table, I want the clay, I want to sculpt the life-size one, paint it, put clothes on it, and have it on display. I'd love to do a 8-foot tall Godzilla and have it 8 foot tall, you know, probably from tip to tail. It'd probably be close to 20 foot long, because Godzilla's got a heck of a tail. And I'd like to do the 54. I'd like to do the 89. I'd like to do the 2001. And I'd like to do the 2019 Godzilla. I'd like to do all 4 of those. But, you know, clay is expensive, and space is at a premium in the old household. We sculpt down here at Pop Culture because I don't have a home studio, so I have this space here where I'm allowed to sculpt, so this is where I sculpt. But tell me what you think. And tomorrow she's going to start doing videos of me just working on stuff and putting them up, and then I'm going to try to come back and do narration over them, because a lot of times I'm just sculpting and I don't even think to tell you what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. And it would be easier for me to go back and watch it and say, this is what I did here. This is my thought process while I'm doing this. Here you can see I made a mistake. Because I want to show you when I mess up, I want to show you how I fix it. Because you're going to mess up. You're going to plan everything out, and you're going to get to it, and it's going to fail miserably. But that doesn't mean you have to scrap it, because that, the big Godzilla Kong, the zombie Godzilla, this, several of these almost got just dumped over and said the heck with it. But took a day or 2 off from it, came back, looked at it with a fresh set of eyes, and also my wife wouldn't let me throw it away or tear it up, because every time I tear one up, she cries. I don't know why, but she does. There it is. So the Blair Monster, or the Blair Thing, from John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982, larger version, 2022 version, by One-Eyed Fat Man Studios, sculpted by Michael James, and there you go. And we'll have more later. And check us out. We're on TikTok now under One-Eyed Fat Man Studios. We're on Facebook. What else do we have?
I'm not running any others right now.
She's not running any others right now. Of course, here on YouTube, we have a Patreon. You can come see me down here at the store. Ask any questions you want. Hit like, hit subscribe, make comments, ask me questions. That's what I'm here for. And this is Michael, and I'll catch you next time.